a piranha. What does it mean to be beloved? A beloved spokesperson for Black Lives Matter, the progressives, to promote Chaz, this disembodied lawlessness, no police, but they police. They have police. They have their own police in Seattle, their little encampment. So they are policing. It's not official police. It's their official police. Uh, this is very different from what I remember back in the day. I try not to talk about my spiritual past, but only when I do is to set a lesson between the original civil rights movement, where it was my job. I was sent into this world by the God of Moses, the Father of Christ, to fight segregation. I was the one who found Reverend King and helped him become the leader that he became. And the point is, I was one of the organizers of the Children's March against Bull Connor, and I was spiritually participant. And yes, violence was unleashed upon us, the children. But I mention all this not to make me me. It's not about me. It never was about me. It was about Reverend King and the movement. I was just one of those behind the scenes players. When you have a backup quarterback and he holds a clipboard, but he does more than that. He's also part of the team, ready to go in. And that was my job, ready to go in. And I did, in the Children's March against Bull Connor. We got hit hard, but that's not the point. Reverend King and myself, we held the movement together. Today's Black Lives Matter is disorganized. It is noise. It is a bunch of people making noise. There is no clarity. You don't hear the message. And it's all noise. And I don't even know what they're talking about. With Reverend King back in the day, it wasn't noise, it was structured, organized. You heard Reverend King, and had I manifested, you would have heard me. I would have chosen my words carefully. And when I was at the podium and Reverend King, when Martin was speaking, I have a dream, you heard the message. He raised up the words and sent them out to every individual as if he was speaking to every person, which he was. He had the power to tone it down and to raise the words without screaming at you. Today's Black Lives Matter and the progressives and these Antifa are screaming with nothing but noise. I don't even hear what they're saying, and they don't hear what I'm saying. They are so caught up in their moment of power grab that they have created in this pandemic another tent city. That's all Chaz is, an overglorified tent city with pandemic running amok. Once they start getting ill, and they will be in the hospitals. This is where it's heading. Trump has no choice. The government has no choice but to go in there and clear this place. take it over. And if it bothers the left-wing liberal government, so be it. That's what I say to them. Now, normally, I would side with the people, but this is not the original civil rights movement. These Antifa and some Black Lives Matter who are being manipulated by Antifa, this is not the original civil rights movement of Reverend King. Reverend King and me started something that led to the end of segregation and the civil rights bill. This young people today are noisemakers. Me Hulk, smash, smash, smash. They are proving how much damage they can destroy buildings and break windows. Wow, they break windows. Wow, great. Anybody can break windows. Even a 10-year-old kid with a lot of rocks can break windows. But that does not make a civil rights movement. People, today's young people, these activists are just noisemakers. And that's why you notice a lot of them are just filming the back of the heads of people. What are they filming? Do they even know what they're filming? Are they journalists? Are they reporting facts? Are they saying both sides, fair and balanced, or are just reporting noise? Are they just documenting noise, looting and burning and calling it social justice? There's a reason why back in the day I didn't back Malcolm X and the Muslim Brotherhood, the Muslims. It was noise. I backed Reverend King because it was structured and it led to justice. The Civil Rights Bill, the end of segregation. Today, it's a mess. It's a mess. And Trump needs to go in there with the National Guard, the military if need be. This is the rare time where I am actually saying Trump is right. My apologies to the military and the former military who were critical. In this instance, this is necessary. In other instances, no. We need to call it as we see it and be careful. Right now is a time for structure, and we have a pandemic. I say to the military and to those others who are cautious about going in there, we have a pandemic. This is a disaster area. This is almost like inviting the Walking Dead, you know? No, this Seattle cannot spread. This Seattle is madness. It is anarchy. And somebody is behind Antifa. Could it be George Soros? Could it be others? Somebody's behind it. It just doesn't pop up because a bunch of crazies decided to get together and take over a section of Seattle. Organized craziness. So I should know. I was a covert ops back in the day spiritually when I found Reverend King in that modest church and I uplifted him. And together we brought down segregation. Wasn't easy. It was painful and brutal. But we did it in a structured manner, not with all this Black Lives Matter noise. That's why nobody's paying attention to them. Nobody is paying attention to them because you don't hear the noise from the noise. People dismiss me because I don't take the side of Black Lives Matter. I take the side of back in the day with Reverend King. There is no Reverend King among them. Anyone with a even a naked old guy can be the leader of Antifa. Just cracking skulls. Even a shirtless old guy like me can be a member of Black Lives Matter. As long as I make equal amount of noise. Yeah, I agree with you. Right on, brother. Hey, yeah, he makes sense. Power to the people, right on. Wow, great point. What else? Oh, great one. Smash, smash, smash. Me Hulk. Racism, 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 racism. And yet, how many of them as teenagers in school were part of a clique? Either jocks, nerds. How many of these Black Lives Matter who are anti-racism, how many of them as teenagers were part of cliques in high school, in junior high? How many of them belonged only to their own little circle of friends? Huh? Ah, you don't admit that. Is that racism? You bunch of noisemakers, you. Racism, racism. And you talk about slavery and segregation. You weren't even slaves. You were never segregated. Those of us who are old enough, brother, young people, you don't know segregation and slavery. You only use it to justify your anger. And you have righteous indignation against the police. But that does not mean that the rest of us should suffer the consequences of your madness. You have no solutions, just chaos. Well, I have spoken. Yes, I believe. And a long time ago, I believed in a young black man named Martin Luther King Jr. And I saw something in him. When I found him, I saw something in him. Something that we needed at the time. If only Black Lives Matter had someone like him. No, they just have. Thank goodness Reverend King and the original civil rights movement were not today's Black Lives Matter. We would still be segregated. We would still be segregated. It's a mess, people. It's a mess. Keep it on. Keep it on. Because when you turn it off, all you get is